December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. The United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan. As Commander-in-Chief of the Army and Navy, I have directed that all measures be taken.
Costly to our navy, war vessels, airplanes, and equipment, but more costly to Japan was the effectiveness of its foul attack in immediately unifying America in its determination to fight and win the war thrust upon it, and to win the peace that will follow. The Japs copied their German masters in striking hard at airfields. Hickam Field, northwest of Honolulu, and the Ford Island Naval Plane Base were the first objectives of Japan's treachery. Scores of planes were bruised and battered by the Japs' aerial bombs. Many of these were demolished beyond repair. Direct hits were scored on hangars, and these were badly shattered. Equipment and airplane supplies were reduced to smoldering ruins. Here at the Naval Air Station is grim and positive evidence of Jap treachery. Here foul blows were struck, while Jap diplomats were talking peace in Washington. America lost 3 destroyers. Here are seen the United States destroyers Downs and Shore as they rest on the bottom of Pearl Harbor, with decks awash after Jap bombers make direct hits on their decks. First to feel the sting of Japanese steel are the USS Oklahoma and Utah, the latter a 33-year-old target ship. Accurate hits by the enemy bombers make short work of these 2 naval bulwarks. Now, with their keels practically out of water, they lie helpless wrecks and a sad reminder of cowardly strategy. To make possible the surprise attack within Pearl Harbor, the Japs built 2-man submarines to enable them to fire sneak blows within waters that are narrow and tortuous. Several of these surprise weapons were blown from the water by direct hits of our naval gunners. Others were beached and captured. While sky and sea fire was still raging, salvage crews inspected our naval craft to estimate what may be saved. Before the din of bursting bombs had been silenced, preparations were underway to salvage these 2 warships. At low tide, the huge propeller of the Oklahoma, stilled by the enemy, was high above water. It is believed that the small 2-man Jap submarines carrying dual torpedo tubes were responsible for these 2 losses to our Pacific fleet. Here is the actual bombing of the mighty USS Arizona by Jap planes. These pictures were made by a fearless cameraman who thought nothing of his personal safety to make possible this record for all posterity. A single lucky hit was responsible for the disaster that befell the Arizona when a Jap bomb falling directly through one of the battleship's funnels exploded in the engine room and set ablaze tons of fuel oil. Dense black smoke billowed to the sky as the massive control tower began to keel over. The Arizona's courageous crew stuck to its guns until the very end. Here was displayed heroism that will live forever in the glorious annals and traditions of the American Navy. The once mighty Arizona now rests on Pearl Harbor's muddy bottom, a pitiful relic of its former self, a grim monument to the treachery of Japan. The once mighty dreadnought's armor plate is twisted and torn, but the great battleship's control tower still stands, a defiant beacon that in days to come will cast its shadow upon Nippon's very shores. At Pearl Harbor, at Hickam Field, in the bomb-pocked streets of Honolulu, ever is written history. History with a tragic, treacherous pen. History that 130 million Americans will never forget. And in days to come, the Japs, too, will remember Pearl Harbor. Here is a tragic, unforgettable page in the annals of America. Here the cunning deceit of the Japs will never be forgotten. Here they hoped to score a knockout before the war began. The Arizona's gun crews, battered and broken, fired to the last. Their guns pointed skyward, from whence the enemy appeared. The Jap sneak blow cost hundreds of military and civilian lives. The treacherous attack cost our Pacific fleet 2 battleships outright, another capsized, the loss of 3 destroyers and a mine layer. While bombs were still bursting and flames still pouring from our shattered naval craft, a light United States cruiser valiantly moves out to join the fleet and avenge Pearl Harbor.
Out in the waters of Pearl Harbor, a striking white monument seems to ride at anchor. It is a memorial to a fallen crew, to a sunken ship. A symbol of a day that was burned into the American memory. The day was December 7th, 1941. The day of Japan's surprise attack on the U.S. Pacific Fleet here at Pearl Harbor. The day of our entry into World War II. The memorial stands over the sunken hulk of the battleship Arizona. Many of the men who died aboard the Arizona that morning still lie below her decks. The ship on which they served is now their tomb. The memorial, a shrine to their memory. What happened here on that Sunday in December? Why was our fleet attacked? Why were so many killed? The road to war between the United States and Japan began long before Pearl Harbor, from which there was no exit but war. 6 o'clock a.m., 220 miles north of Oahu. Still undetected, Nagumo turned his carriers into the wind and launched his planes. First, the fighters. Then the attack planes, carrying special armor-piercing bombs to hit the battleships, or aerial torpedoes modified to run in the shallow waters of Pearl Harbor. Last, the dive bombers. 183 planes in all. 30 minutes later, a second wave of 167 planes followed. At 6:30 a.m., the destroyer Ward sighted a submarine in the restricted waters off Pearl Harbor. Ward opened fire. She sank one of the 5 two-man midget submarines that were part of the Japanese attack force. Ward radioed Naval Headquarters, "We have attacked, fired upon, and dropped depth charges upon a submarine operating in defensive sea area." Minutes later, the radar installation on the north coast detected a large flight of incoming planes. Its operators notified the information center at Fort Shafter. The officer on duty there assumed that the planes were our own B-17s, due in that day from California. The radar operators were told, "Don't worry about it." The radar had detected the Japanese strike force. At 7:48 a.m., they hit Kaneohe Bay Naval Air Station. At Ford Island Naval Air Station, dive bombers tore apart the seaplanes and their hangars. The radio operator banged out a desperate message. "Air raid Pearl Harbor, this is not drill." Then, their torpedo planes struck. The cruiser Helena was hit, and the concussion shook apart the old mine layer Oglala. She sank. On the north side of Ford Island, the cruiser Raleigh and the training ship Utah were hit. Utah capsized, taking 58 men with her. Other torpedo planes swung around the harbor entrance and attacked from the south. Their target, the great ships moored along Battleship Row. Within minutes, West Virginia, Oklahoma, and California were all hit and sinking. West Virginia settled on the shallow bottom. Hit by 2 torpedoes, California began to list and would have turned over, but was counterflooded in time. She too sank upright. But Oklahoma rolled over too quickly to be saved. Within minutes, hundreds of seamen were trapped inside. 429 men died with Oklahoma. Arizona, a few minutes after 8. Piercing bomb went through her deck and ignited the forward ammunition magazine. Thousands of tons of ammunition exploded. No one who heard that sound would ever forget it. 1,177 men died in those moments. Caught off guard, men fought back from all around the harbor as best they could. Sailors, soldiers, and Marines showed courage and resourcefulness. Many decorations for valor were won that day. Navy guns claimed 5 of the 29 torpedo planes that attacked Battleship Row. Only 14 American pilots were able to rise and meet the attackers. They claimed 11 Japanese planes shot down. At about 8:50, the second wave of bombers struck. Hickam and Wheeler Fields were hit again. The second wave smashed the destroyers Cassin and Downs in Dry Dock Number 1. The destroyer Shaw's ammunition stores exploded. Sailors thrown off their ships by the force of the explosions swam through oil burning on the surface of the harbor. Rescue boats dragged them, alive and dead, from the inferno of flame and water. Thick smoke from the burning ships provided some cover from the Japanese planes. 21 vessels, including all 8 first-line battleships, were sunk or damaged. Some 170 planes, both Army and Navy, destroyed. And the dead, more than 2,400. Another 1,200 wounded. Sailors, airmen, Marines, soldiers, and civilians. 29 Japanese planes shot down, 55 airmen killed. 9 of the 10 midget subcrewmen also died. One was captured to become America's first prisoner of war.
Yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy.
So this was a very emotional experience for me. Most of this footage is all footage I shot myself or footage I got from the internet of the exact footage of those days. So I hope you guys enjoy this video, and the next video will be more about my vacation and my experience going to Pearl Harbor and what I saw going inside the submarine, going inside the Missouri, going inside all the war, seeing the battleships with my own eyes and being able to experience the, being on those decks.
That was the biggest deck I've ever been on, by the way. Not funny? No.
That's my story. I'm sticking to it. If you guys want to support me, go to patreon.com/theadorabledeplorable. This is only video number 1. There will be a couple more videos coming out because I had such a crazy time in Hawaii. Like we rented scooters one day and spent the whole day going around the whole island. The next day we rented a car, and then we went to like North Shore and a bunch of other stuff. We didn't just stay in Waikiki the whole time, but we also have a day in Waikiki. I was there 5 whole days. So you guys will be able to see a video coming out soon about all that. But I hope you guys enjoy the history of Pearl Harbor, and now wait for the next video because the very next video is going to be my experience going on those decks. Alright guys, like I said in the video, I'll see you in the next one.
US atomic bomb attacks on Hiroshima and Nagasaki killed hundreds of thousands of civilians and marked the final chapter in the confrontation between the United States